So, you have just learned how to solve your first 3x3 Rubik's Cube. Amazing. Now what? Now there's a whole world that is exposed to you, which you need to know. So this video is for everything cubing related. First thing to start off with is how to time yourself. So, you've just learned how to solve your first Rubik's Cube. Now you want to get faster. That's the goal for everybody. I would recommend 2 things. First, a website called CS Timer. Some people might be already familiar with this. Essentially, it is the best cubing timer. All you do is simply just use the Scrabble notation, which is really important for you to know if you don't already know that yet, and scramble up your cube with the Scrabble notation. So then, and if you're still learning, it gives you the exact draw scramble in the corner, and you can make sure it matches up with that. If you're using a keyboard, just press the spacebar, and then it will start your timer, and you can start solving. And then it will keep those times on the side and record them for you to keep. Of course, there are issues with you saving your time in there and it staying there forever. So what I do is export all my times, maybe once a month or once every 2 months. And so if anytime it crashes or I lose it, I can just import the files again. If you watch any cubing content, you will definitely have seen one of these before. This is a StackMat timer. This is what we use in competition to record our times. So it is very easy to use. You just put your hands here, start solving, put your hands back down, and your time will be recorded. This is what everyone uses in competition. So if you plan to go to an official one, you'll need to get used to this. CS Timer, the way you can use it with this is you can either plug it in directly, as it has a plug right here inside. But for me, that requires like a lot of audio jacks and wires that I just don't have. So what I do is I change CS Timer to typing, and I just type in my times. Next section to look at is cubing websites. So first thing is probably the most important website, which is World Cube Association. That's where you can find where all the official competitions are being held, and you can register for one, or you can look at your own rankings or see how other people have done. With the WCA Live and competitions ongoing, so for example, Euros is coming up very soon. So if I want to check that out, I'd go into WCA Live and see all the live rankings. Now, learning algorithms is one of the most important things you can do. So when you first start, I'll assume you've learned the beginner's method. But as you develop, there's going to be more advanced methods that require something called algorithms, which means if you have a specific case or a pattern, for example, this pattern here, I know that I can solve it with this algorithm. And that's what you need to learn. So SpeedCubeDB offers you multiple algorithms, but filters it from the highest popularity and most usage, so you can see what other people are using. You can see what's the best algorithm for each case, and you can train your algorithms. Because obviously, once you learn an algorithm, you need to get it as fast as possible, so it's actually worth using. So I definitely recommend SpeedCubeDB. Although I did say speedcubing websites, I should also say resources. The platform that speedcubers are probably the most active on is actually Discord. There's a lot of resources out there, for example, spreadsheets with the best algorithms that top cubers have made. So like, the best cube in the world has probably compiled all their algorithms into one spreadsheet, and they have shared it with multiple other people. This is in the 2x2 algorithms spreadsheet. There's a Pyraminx algorithm spreadsheet, which if you don't know what that is, I'll develop on that later. So you should definitely go check those out and get on Discord, because there are multiple very helpful people willing to help you out with all your problems. This is very specific to C/3, but once you've learned the beginner's method, you definitely want to invest in something called Cfault. It will lay the groundwork for a lot of very important events. So I will link some videos of that below. Now, once you've learned 3x3, you'll probably want to expand. This gets boring after a while. So these are the top things I'd recommend to you. If you're looking on sort of the easier end of puzzle, something that you'll be able to learn very quickly and it's just a lot of fun, you have 2x2. This isn't not my actual main. My main is actually holding my phone right now. But I have 2x2, which if you know how to solve 3x3, you should actually be able to learn this just by yourself without a tutorial. And then you have another very fun event, Pyraminx. It has these tips, and it's just overall very fun to, learn. I also actually learned this without a tutorial, but obviously you can watch one. And then you have Skewb. This is actually my least favorite event, but it only requires one algorithm to know, and you can have a lot of fun with this one. And then finally we have Clock. Now this is the most interesting one out of probably all of these I just pulled out. And definitely And unless this looks daunting, the goal is to get it all to this 12 o'clock position, all these hands, and you have these sort of pins and dials that can move them around. So I would definitely say it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of methods, although the most popular one has different variants, so you could definitely experiment with that. And it is quite easy to learn how to solve. And then if you want, a bit more of a challenge, you have 4x4. This is where all your groundwork for 3x3 gets built up into all of these sort of bigger cube events. You have 5x5 here as well. Well, all your groundwork definitely pays off for 3x3, but if you want to learn these bigger cube events, you're going to need to know a method on 3x3 called CFOP. Then we have Megaminx, also very fundamental with 3x3 basics here. So if you can solve a 3x3, you can definitely solve a Megaminx. Overall, there are 17 events in the WCAA. So the WCAA is World Cube Association, like I said. 17 events means there are 17 official events that you can compete in. So let's expand a bit on the WCAA. And let me explain sort of the competitive nature of speed cubing. So when I say competitions, it's really not, I would say, a competition against other people. Obviously, you want to be fast, but the real person you're competing against is genuinely yourself. Everyone is on different levels. I doubt you'll find someone with the exact same averages for every single event. For example, there are people who focus on 5x5 the most, and they will be really good at 5x5, but however, they can suck at something like Pyraminx. Whereas someone else will love Pyraminx and just devote all their time to it and suck at everything else. Whereas some other people, called all-rounders, they try and become as good as possible and evenly distributed all their skill into all the events. But as this is the case, you cannot always sort of measure against people. So the best way to do it is measure against yourself. For example, in competition, I average 8 seconds in 3x3. So I get really happy whenever I get, let's say, a 7 seconds off. But someone like, let's say, Yihen will not be happy with a 7 seconds off. But I don't care because it's so good for me. And then that's why we have something called your profile. So once you've competed in any event at an official competition, you get made a WC ID. So you can click on your own profile and a list of all your results will come up, and as well as the history of your results. So you now have a personal record, average, or single for any event that you've competed in, and your goal is to keep improving on that. And that is the true nature of the competitions. So I would say, if you're entering a competition for the first time, do not be worried about trying to win or trying to be the slowest, because no one cares.